to yearly updates in technology. And we thought it was time maybe to just give you a bit of an update. As you know, we went to Barcelona earlier this year and we made a few announcements about things we were going to do. And we thought we'd give you an update of where we're at in that pattern, and also a bit of an update on what we've actually done. But just start with the foundationally though, if you look at even Andy's first speech about A, being a technology optimist, and B, about the importance of maintaining our network performance. That's really grounded and continuing a policy we've had for a long time, which is grounded in the customer. And indeed, if we look at the commitments we've recently made to expand the footprint to 99% and the investment we've made in our network in the last few years, it's founded in how do we continue to give the customer the best user experience so that they have the best coverage, fewer dropouts, more consistent user experience. And having been in this industry for a while, one thing I do know is the data tsunami is like a true tsunami, in that you get one wave and then you get another one. And we see with an explosion in things like video and connected things that this demand is going to continue to come. And at the very root of our philosophy of how we build and plan and design the network is to ensure that we don't let our customers down. And indeed, with that investment in spectrum, that's part of that $5 billion we put into our commitments in our networks. A key enabler was that APTS 700 band, which is, if you like, the very foundation of what is the 4GX network. And our commitment to take that footprint out to 99% allows us to create this valuable 4G only layer, if you like, in the network that we can build new and next generation products and services on that creates new differentiation. So that's at the bottom, if you like, of the strategy of what we've been doing. And with our more recent commitment, and I'll come back and talk about some of the innovations, but in the Black Spot program, we are currently at 2.5 million square kilometres, but we will grow the Australian footprint 2.4 million square kilometres. We will grow the footprint to 2.5. So that whole investment of rolling out the network, we're at 5,000 4G cells already, is about continuing to create that differentiation and creating the network of the future. Part of that story, and those who've known me for a long time, they can probably tell the split themselves, which is a story about speed. And we all know, I keep telling the story, and I assume we all know that speed is not about the speed itself for the individual user, it's about the efficiency of the network. And we've continued to drive this speed story because the analogy we use is, the network is a traffic carrying device and it's like a highway. We can either add lanes to the highway, and we do that when we build new towers, or we buy and activate new spectrum, and that's part of the strategy. But the other part of our strategy for many years has been to speed the devices up on the highway to make the network more efficient, because our job is to get the bits through the network as quickly as possible. So that doesn't necessarily mean an individual customer needs to get that peak speed, but it does mean that if the network is more efficient, we shift more traffic. And of course that allows us to make the network more efficient, the individual customers to get a better user experience, and also for us to add more value. So every year we can give customers more value in their plans with that same user experience, and that's at the heart of our technology roadmap. And as you know, and if I can just, each time I say the word 300, 450 or 600 megabits per second, can you in brackets say theoretical peak network speed for me? Well, I've been doing this so long I probably can't say it without it. We all know the actual user experience is below that, but the peak theoretical speed is important because that's the, if you like, the underlying enabler that makes the radio interface efficient. And you would know we've been aggressive in rolling out some of these new speeds, and indeed our category 6 or the theoretical 300 megabit per second devices, when we started, we usually start with 1 or 2, it's now become very popular, and by the end of this year we expect to have 20 individual device models capable of that speed, and over 1 million individual devices on our network. So as you see, as these new technologies come through, they come in waves, and we start to see a build-up of each category, and then the next one comes along, we'll see a build-up. And what you've already seen is that we launched just recently our theoretical 450 megabit per second network, and we've already got 2 devices on the network, 2 handsets, and the Samsung is capable of supporting those speeds. So this continual evolution is about building efficiency in the network and give customers great experience. So, we brought you here today not just to tell you that, but to tell you that we continue to work on these things. And that today we're announcing another world first, which is the first 600 megabit per second theoretical peak network speed device in the Netgear hotspot that we'll be launching. And of course, as I said, this is about network efficiency, about giving customers a great user experience. And the more users that take up these next generation devices, the better user experience we can offer them. So with that, I might ask John to tell you a little bit about the device itself and how that's coming to market.
Sure, so we've got a few around today. You'll be seeing the trial. Up to 600 megs, it's quite a stunning speed to be thinking about. What we think of it as a powerhouse in your pocket. This is an amazing, amazing device when you think about up to 600 meg, up to 15 users. It's Wi-Fi AC capable, which means it's a video enabled and media enabled device. So you can think about multiple streams of high definition video running simply through this. 11 hours battery life as well, so really a mini powerhouse in your pocket you can take and really take on the go for all your needs, whether it's business or consumer and video needs. And also really importantly, with all our products, it's got the LCD touchscreen with our usage meters. So as we go into this world of video, and we know that as our networks continue to take on more and more traffic, which we enjoy, video is really the way that our customers are more and more using our mobile networks. And if we look at 2020, that's just going to continue to increase. It's important that we've moved all our data pricing to really enable great, risk-free, enjoyable usage from our customers. And with the data meter on every device, we'll always be tracking that data for the usage amount. So a great breakthrough for us, really excited and a world first, like I said. But happy to talk more about it, and we've got a few of these for you guys afterwards. So we'll talk more.
Thanks, John. And those who know me know that we do like to push the envelope, and some of the scariest things work with children, animals, and do speed test results. Okay, and you know that I've got history in that if you've been around long enough. But just to show that I keep coming back at it, we're going to do some demonstrations for you. Now, one thing that's interesting about trying to do a speed test with something like this is it's somewhat unconventional. There's not many people or users or use cases across the internet where you actually test something of this speed. So we're still learning how that unfolds, but we've had some pretty good results. So we're going to be bold enough to both show you a test right now and also show you some other CAN tests we did as we were doing our testing. So I might ask Paul just to flip up. We do lots of tests before you come into the room, and that was the last result we got. As I said, this is up to the upper range of what you can get theoretically, and the typical user speeds usually will vary quite a lot across the range of speeds, as you do with all devices. But we'll just try our luck and we'll see what we can get here now on a couple of quick tests.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so the speed test guys were pretty kind to us today. With that, I might actually ask the guys to show you a couple of CAN ones, because we've done some, there's the upload as well. We've done some both here, but we've also done some out and about just to show what the network is capable of doing. So what we're doing here is we're activating multiple carriers that we're joining together, and we're also using a new modulation scheme. When you join the whole lot together, you're combining the frequencies and the speed of the individual channel to get the peak speed. Just want to run that video as well.
Sure. If you just click the next.
As you can see, the engineering team are pretty proud of what they do with that, and I'm pretty proud of what they do as well. When I think back, it sort of feels like yesterday, our world first were theoretical speeds of 21, and the rate of change just seems to continue to accelerate, and we're trying to continue to stay with it because the consumption models that are used by network customers keep going up, and our plan is to keep pushing that envelope. So, with that, let's go to the next topic, because as they say, wait, there's more. Today we're also announcing the activation on our network of voice over LTE, or 4G voice calling. And of course, 4G voice calling is the next generation of calling on our networks, and it's the beginning of the future. This is just the first step. To give you an idea what that means, and as we've gone around the world and discussed the topic of voice over LTE or VoLTE, one thing we learned from a lot of other operators, it isn't easy to do, and we came back from some of those trips very determined that we would try and leverage our network to the best way possible. And we've spent this year doing a lot of work, doing what I provocatively say is one of the most material and biggest changes to voice calling in over 40 years. Because when I think about that, I don't think of just wireless, I think of back to the conversion of even analog calling to digital calling and digital exchanges. And what's special about this integration is it's not just the wireless network. We've actually integrated voice over LTE also into the fixed network. So we've integrated into next generation calling on the NBN devices. So if there is a next generation NBN device with HD voice codecs, you'll get HD voice directly from the 4G VoLTE phone all the way through to that device in the home. Similarly, if you dial one of our own IP telephony next generation devices, you'll also get that end-to-end HD voice integration. So we've taken what was a move in the mobile world, and we're now talking about probably one of the first examples I can give of, after all the years of the term of convergence, maybe we are starting to see convergence, the ability to integrate the VoLTE capability into fixed networks. Now, if I add to that, what does this mean for customers? Well, firstly, as you know, we were one of the world's first, and certainly one of the biggest footprints to introduce HD voice calling on our circuit world. We continue that in the world of VoLTE, so that HD calling will work from our existing HD devices into the 4G devices. 4G devices will be able to dial those next generation devices as well with VoLTE. In addition, what will customers notice? Well, first thing they'll notice is very fast call setup. So the VoLTE world, typically you'll see, say, 2 to 4 second type call setup times, whereas the traditional circuit, particularly from 4G, you have to send the call back to 3G, set the call up. And that's probably anything, depending on where you are in the world, maybe 6 to 9 seconds or more. So customers will see that fast setup time. The other thing that it means is customers now stay in the 4G layer. So up until now, when you made a voice call, you moved your way down to the 3G layer. And so any data transmission you were doing would have been occurring on the 3G layer at the 3G speeds. And we ourselves were quite surprised when we did some traces to discover, well, how much time do customers actually, or how much data is transmitted when people are on a voice call. And we were quite surprised to see some of those statistics. Usually in excess of 30% of the time, there is some data transaction going on while you're on a voice call, whether it's you're doing something consciously or whether a device app or something is operating in that. So you get the advantage of staying on that 4G layer. And as I mentioned before, we now link this with our strategy of creating this consistent 99% 4GX layer. We start to build products and services on a 4G layer that can differentiate and are unique. But what's interesting about that again is this is just the beginning of the next page in the story about where VoLTE takes us, because this is the enabler for the next generation multimedia calling. It's the enabler that will take us down the path to things like rich communication suite, to video calling, and indeed voice over Wi-Fi. So, John, do you want to give the team your perspective on the implications of VoLTE and the journey we're on?
Yes.
And then we might give you, again, we'll test the demonstration guides, we'll give you some demonstrations as well.
Absolutely. So this is, and Mike, it's the next generation of voice. This is where voice, we've been barreling towards it now with air. It does changes that, just the instantaneous nature. You'll see in the tests, we're actually used to 6, 8, 10 seconds setup time, when it's quite a different experience. And that might seem like a small benefit, but it actually does change into our calling on a day-to-day basis. We think that the multitasking nature of this calling, as people get used to 4G speeds in every experience they have, is really critical. Customers, especially in a business perspective, more and more, I find myself on the phone, on a call, also using the phone to browse or schedule a stream. So that is a huge benefit. And so yeah, we can see it as the sort of next wave of where voice is going and how consumers can get used to what we call the beautiful basics. So in many respects, people are getting used to other services, over-the-top type services that give you some of the features that we will see now coming through embedded in every experience you have with Telstra on your phone. So when you think about the native high-definition voice through VoLTE, soon native video experiences through the same platform, things that people have come to expect off the carrier platform and that is now coming and will be leading the carrier platform in every experience you have out of VoLTE. It's quite a big step forward for how people experience their carrier service, which we're really excited about.
Thanks, John. And let me talk a little bit about the way this unfolds, because if you think about when we brought out HD Voice, you usually need another partner to dance with. So HD Voice, we've got about 70% penetration of devices on our network now that are capable of HD Voice. We see about 30% of all calls are HD Voice, and we expect that by the middle of next year, about 50% of all communications will be in HD because of the penetration and the interworking that this creates. So if I can ask the team to come up, we'll just give you a quick demonstration of just the VoLTE call setup. As I say, this is a couple of benefits that customers see now, but this is actually about the beginning of the next generation story. And we have to start early so we penetrate the devices, enable the network, which is sort of how we came hard and early in the LTE story, so that we're ready to take advantage of this in the future when we've got the network well and truly rolled out to penetration of devices. And that's what's very, very important about this journey going early, because there will also be a point in time where we will want to roll out a 4G network only, and VoLTE is important as an enabler for that in the future.
And Mike, can I just borrow this? So, good morning, everyone. What we have here, and if you have a look at this very highly technical sort of holding device here, my wife will work that I've stolen heat me, but what we've got here is a S6 Edge Plus and also a Note 5. We've tried to get it to focus, but I just draw a reference there to the 4G. This particular phone here, you'll see there's a 4G, I suppose, label there. If I so the key thing about it, as I mentioned before, was native. So if I pick up here and dial this phone here, you'll see that John referred to the call setup time. You can see that call setup time was quite fast. And the key thing here is, if you see 4G, there's no switch back, and we're basically going to VoLTE to multi-call. So that's on the network, on the mobile network, VoLTE to mobile call. So I was going to then demonstrate basically that we're integrating this. We've also, as Mike referred to, we've got a public switch telephone network, as we refer, a PSTN phone. And you see now I can now do a VoLTE. See how fast that was? A VoLTE to PSTN call. And that's integrated. When we're talking about, you can hear that the voice going through there. It's integrated in the network. And that's the mobile originating. And if you just bear with me, we love showing things off, but if I go back, we also show that if we call back VoLTE back to the PSTN. So while all this has been going on, you can sort of see, I draw a reference again, 4G, we have not gone back to 3G, it's all on the 4G network.
Thanks for that, Paul. I think the thing you notice there also is when you go, the post-dialing delay is super rapid when you've got just on one mobile, like you don't go back to the 3G layer as well. So as I said, this is the beginning of the next generation of calling, and the integration into the existing network is sort of the exciting thing, if you like, in terms of what we should be able to build in next generation services. So the next step in this, of course, is
I was going to talk about handsets as well. So you saw the Samsungs there, the latest two Samsung 6 Plus and the Note 5. The Edge and the Note 5 are ready to go, and we've got all our most popular handsets will be VoLTE ready in the months ahead. So it's only the next off the rank, but there's all the popular handsets are coming into this domain as we roll through.
and of course, I was starting to mention before about the penetration of devices. You only get the penetration over time as you get the device built up on the network. So you'll start to see progressively, as we penetrate these devices into the market, people will start to see that fast call setup experience. Of course, that's, again, just the beginning. I said this is the beginning of next generation calling. The next step that we're looking forward to is the ability to take this native dialing capability, this native experience, and turning that into voice over Wi-Fi. So we've begun testing the capability in the network that will allow you, when on Wi-Fi, to originate and terminate effectively a VoLTE call. And of course, the use cases of that are things like sculpting your own coverage, because despite the huge range of our network, we still know people have double brick insulated houses, sometimes with big deep basements, and the choices they have to date have been about using, say, one of our smart antennas. This will give them another choice, and the ability to use their own Wi-Fi extension into that part of the house and seamlessly use their mobile as if it's still on 4G. So I'll ask Paul to come forward again, and we'll once again attempt the demonstration guides with an early phase demonstration of how voice over Wi-Fi works.
Just, you're probably wondering what Wi-Fi we're using. Just over here we have the gear that we're referring to, the product, the Netgear latest Cat 11 device, and it's plugged into a cradle. So that's the Wi-Fi that we're using in this demonstration. So previously I had the S6 Edge and the Note 5. Now I'm going to replace it. And what we have here is part of what we call an engineering configuration with Samsung that we use. Again, please bear with me because I'll be referring to these notations here on the screen. They are what we use just when we're doing testing, and obviously as we go to market, John and his team condition how the device looks. So what I'm going to do again is start off doing basically a VoLTE call. So if I just set up here, I'll read this phone again like I did before. As you can see, VoLTE 5. Right now, we're on a VoLTE call. You can see that's 4G, and there's it's challenging, but consider VoLTE. What I'll do now is activate Wi-Fi. What you will see is that particular symbol there will change, and that's the indication we've used to show that we have now done a VoLTE to voice over Wi-Fi handover. So when we talk about testing and integrating in the network, that's, as we say, a handover. I'll show you going back, turn Wi-Fi off. And again, you'll see that we hand it back. So we originated on a VoLTE, did a voice over Wi-Fi, and then came back and did a VoLTE call. And just one last case, I know engineering guys love doing demonstrations, right? But just to show the level of testing that we've been doing, please humor me. So we're back on VoLTE. Again, that fast PSTN call. We've gone over here and done a call here to the PSTN node. Again, I activate Wi-Fi. You see that symbol change. And there we have doing that same call case. I've explained that handover to a mobile call, but a handover also over to the, as we did the voice over Wi-Fi. So it's the stages where we are. We're developing and we're enhancing this.
So the important thing from our point of view is this is the journey we're on to go to next generation capabilities, and VoLTE is sort of step one, voice over Wi-Fi will be step two, and then there'll be future evolutions of an integrated solution into that. So that's the journey we're on, the story we're telling. One last thing to share with you, as you know, we were recently pleased to have a fairly material win in the Black Spots program. And one of the interesting things we were able to do in the Black Spots program was introduce an innovation that we've been working on around the use of small cells. Now, I'm infamous for actually speaking at a small cells conference a few years ago and getting up and saying, well, if I had a choice, I wouldn't install any small cells. So that sort of made me popular from day one. And I was coming from the angle as I'd much rather use spectrum on the towers I own than have to go and build more infrastructure. But we do know, where there's limited spectrum, where there's lots of users in a dense area, the use case for small cells becomes very, very important. But in our case, particularly with the progressive approach that we've seen with spectrum in Australia, we find some places where we will use small cells in very dense areas. But what we're able to do in the rural case was actually sort of flip that whole logic upside down and say, well, small cells were made to be cheap to install and have many of them in a dense network. Why don't we see if we can use a cheap small cell to create some unique coverage from some of our customers? So what we did, and over here, sitting on this bench, for those who like looking at bits of plastic, is one of the small cells we're using. And because they're low powered and quite small and less expensive, we're able to select small townships where they don't really have a strong signal. Sometimes they have a very weak signal outdoors, and because they're a small township, they'll really will struggle to ever get the economics up to put an entire base station or tower into that town. So they're sort of doomed to standing outside if they want to, or putting antennas on the roof. So the idea with a small cell was, can we create a very low cost way of going into town using an existing, say, exchange bit of infrastructure or an existing building, putting a low cost small cell and a low cost antenna on the roof, and creating a bubble, if you like, of a few hundred metres of 4G coverage. And we started testing that last year in Queensland, and we got very, very good feedback from the community. So we actually rolled that into our proposition for our customers and our submission in the NBN. And as you would have seen, there's some hundreds of small cells now, an integrated part of that package that we hope creates difference and value for those customers, just by taking something that was thought of and developed for one application by flipping upside down and trying to do something very radical and different with it. So we're very happy with the outcome. At the back of the room, if you're around, we'll have the opportunity for you to have a look at a video of one of the community trials of the small cell itself. So with that, we've got some lunch coming. We didn't know whether we would continue to keep you here, and I would keep talking right through the lunch. But what we'll probably do is in a minute we'll just open up for questions, and then we'll invite you to stay for lunch, and also invite you to come and try and break our demonstrations. But if I can just recap, everything we do, the investments we make, the innovation my engineers work on is about the customer. It's how do we make sure they get the greatest user experience, always know they can rely on us. We don't let them down under these incredible growth spurts that come on the network, and we bring them new and interesting and new value propositions. It starts with the investment in the network. It starts with the innovation we get around promoting the APT 700 spectrum and getting that in devices for all Australians. For rolling out that sort of unique 4G layer that we're pushing out to 99% so we can innovate on top of it. And of course today, we're proud to announce a world first once again, whereas only a few weeks ago we were world firsting the 450 peak network speed sampling devices, the new Netgear device, done of course in partnership with some great world-leading vendors, Ericsson and Qualcomm and Netgear, and of course the new next generation change in the way we carry voice over a network, which will lead us on this journey through voice over Wi-Fi, next generation calling based on an IP-centric future. So with that, I think we might both be ready to take some questions, and then hopefully some lunch will come in.
So Mike, you've got more LTE coverage, you've got more VoLTE devices coming out. How long is the 3G network having to serve?
I would say a very long time still in its current form. I won't speculate, but if you think about it, here we are only closing a 2G network at the end of next year, and yet that network was built in around 1993, if I recall. I was a much younger engineer. I even think the launch date was something like the 1st of April in 93. So I think we've got a long way left to go. What we've found is the 3G network's traffic for the last few years has been flat. And what's happening is people are going to 4G, but those who remain on 3G, as you see in all plans, people consume more. So we tend to be A, doing that, and B, we're seeing other use cases that the 3G layer is using as well. So we'll watch that, but we don't have any current plans at all on when we think 3G will close.
Also, the VoLTE ecosystem gets to the point for open. How does that change the economics on that alternate point?
We haven't been through that at all. We're still looking at what the implications of that.
You mentioned devices coming up, and you expect your most popular phones over the next year or so are going to be able to use this technology. Can you give us an idea of some of the devices and how much of, say, your customer base that's going to take? Because not everyone has these high-tier, top-tier mobile devices.
Yeah, so it'll roll through the bases as customers eventually move on to the latest devices. So we see us moving to hundreds of thousands of devices capable of VoLTE within months. But it will roll through. So we can't announce any other vendors at this stage, just for they're not ready to go. But the conversations are more, and we're really confident it's a strong ecosystem. You can look globally at other launches as well and see that once we start to roll it, and the vendors can book them really quickly and into the trade.
But you've got the upcoming Sony handset.
Sony are already ready to get they're good to go, and others are all we're working through.
I think the important thing that happens here too is you start with some of the top tier ones, but very rapidly all of these features find their way down, and it's the scale, the world scale that helps that happen. And one of the reasons we often try to go early is the sooner we can get these devices penetrated into the network, the sooner we can deliver some of the benefits.
Those percentages of great speed calls, is that percentage of the total calls, is anything work across networks or is it only within your own network?
Only within our network at the moment, but the industry is talking and working and has been working for some side of that time about how do we get that interconnect up and running.
Right. Any idea when that will happen?
Sorry?
Any idea when that will happen?
Look, we don't have a formal date yet, but there's some active, it starts with the technologists getting in the room and agreeing on every bit.
So is that, the standards not there globally yet to do this? Is that what you're saying?
You've got to work it out. You've got the base standards, but you've got to work it out in every country for every network.
So it hasn't worked out in Australia?
Yeah, 12 progressed.
Yeah. Any idea of the time frame?
No, I don't have any announcement for today.
Sorry, it's all very impressive, but at 600 megabits per second, you'll burn through a 2.5 gig data cap in a matter of, what, 2 minutes, is that? So isn't this sort of like putting a supercar onto the road when petrol costs $50 a litre?
Well, if I go back to the earlier point, it's not necessarily about everybody wanting to use 600 megabits per second. It's about the network being more efficient for their day-to-day use. So we're not asking people to go and draw 600 megabits per second on their plan. I'll ask John to talk about value in a moment. This is about when they do use it, the network is more efficient. So that's the point I would make, and I guess that's the foundation point I've always made. Speed isn't just about the peak speed you can experience, it's about making the network more efficient so we can carry more users on the same cell. And that means we can add more value in our plans, and John might talk to about the value in plans, I guess.
Yeah, it's important. So the use cases for 600 mega aren't really in terms of a single stream or a single thing driving that down simply there now. Multiple users on a hotspot, you'll start to get push the hotspot up a little bit. In terms of value, that's why we've done this transformation of data value over the last year. We've seen that the desire for particularly video use from customers increasing, and we've been passionate about whether it's from every device having the meter, so you real time know where you're at, the real time alerts that we've launched that are industry leading here, where you know in real time you get your 50, 85, 100% usage alerts coming out to you, so you always know where you're at, as well as the data charging itself and our extra data launch of just $10 a gig for overage. So we believe customers are becoming more and more aware. In fact, what we see in our networks and our usage, we know our customers are becoming really aware of how to use their usage and manage their usage, which is great, because that's great for them and great for us. And so while there's theoretical outcomes here, we're not seeing that with our customers. We're seeing them really manage their data effectively with the tools that we give them and the value that we give them.
And are we going to see a similar ramp up in the amount of data that customers can download at, say, like $100 or $70 price point?
Well, we've just come out with some new data plans over the last few days, and so certainly as you see in our higher plans, we've got some bonus data on there which are quite significant in terms of the increases that we've put in our 135 and our Hero 195 plan. And certainly what we're seeing is the sharing of data across our customer base. So all our plans in market now are shareable. So you might have a big bucket of data, and then the kids as well will be on there, or the family will all be sharing from the one bucket. And those buckets are absolutely getting bigger, and we're supporting the data needs of our customers in that way.
So you'd say it's going up fast enough for your customers?
Well, absolutely. At this stage, what we're seeing with our customers is we've adjusted the plans to meet the needs of customers and the increases of customers. In some ways, you could almost say the plans are going up a little faster than usage has been, but they're pretty much on par. So it's certainly working for the customers.
Hi, Alex from iTWire.com. I was just wondering, was Stuart's question about voice over Wi-Fi, and if it was, well, you've answered it, but if it wasn't, is there a time frame? And then also, earlier this year you showed voice over LTE, you were showing it on a Samsung S5. Will something like a Samsung Galaxy S5 work, or do you have to have one of these new phones for voice over LTE to function?
No, it can go across a variety of handsets and backward compatible in some cases as well.
And will you publish a list of which?
As we release them, we absolutely will. Yeah.
Usually we do a lot of regression testing, and sometimes we won't, but we want to make sure customers get a great experience, and that's one thing I will reiterate. This is a big change. I've spent most of my career getting the dropout rate in the circuit world down to world-class standards, and we set ourselves the target of making sure this VoLTE experience is as good as it possibly can be. So we're going to continue to work on it, and if necessary, you know, we'll even slow things down if we have to. But we're actually very encouraged by what we've seen. All the testing we've done this year, we're very encouraged.
And was Stuart's question about voice over Wi-Fi or something else? I wasn't really.
That's about
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you were very vague on the time frame for voice over Wi-Fi.
Yeah, look,
Any more clarity?
It depends very much on how our testing goes, but as you can see, that's looking pretty good. So I won't give you an exact date, but I think inside 12 months is
I mean, your competitors, Optus is already doing it, for example.
what we're looking towards is a truly integrated
Yeah, I mean, they have
experience.
an app. They have an app.
Yeah. So our approach is to take, how do we make this the best experience you can get? So we're working on the integrated dial-up. You pick it up, you use it, you don't even have to worry. It's an integrated experience. That's the roadmap we think we're on, and VoLTE is the foundation to enable it.
What you saw, I think, today in the demonstration is, for me, it's a really great step forward for many of our customers. We analyse our customers, what's driving their engagement and advocacy deeply, as you know, and being able to have this seamless, always best coverage in the home, and especially with Telstra Air and our Wi-Fi Nation program, that seamlessness is absolutely what our customers need.
And will voice over Wi-Fi work anywhere you have a Wi-Fi signal, or is it only in the home? Because, for example, Optus is only in the home. Actually, no. I think Optus might be anywhere. Telstra's only. Yeah.
We'll actually share that when we're finished with the product design and development.
Yeah.
We're certainly looking at all of those options.
Sure.
But let's wait until I need you something to get you back for.
Yeah.
Can you give any breakdown of sorry.
Are customers aware at all of where their calls are going to be routed, or is it just totally automatic process? And over time, how overwhelming will be the amount of voice call traffic going over data compared to
Well, customers usually in some way, shape or form inside the phone have a choice of turning a feature on and off, but they shouldn't need to worry about it. Ideally, we'll come to a world where, why do they care? All they know is they pick that phone up, they hit the button. The biggest problem is probably going to be, if they're like me, they pocket dial people accidentally. And sometimes I get enough time to press stop. But generally speaking, they shouldn't notice that. In terms of overwhelming, no. The voice bandwidth, we're very comfortable with that transition to the 4G layer.
When can we expect a rollout map in small cells?
That'll be coming out. We've already got 40 activated. We are, particularly as part of the Black Spots program, that's still not finalised. So when that is finalised and agreed, I'm sure that'll be made public.
So it'll be as part of the government announcements?
Predominantly, yeah. Yeah, it's tied to that.
Can you give any breakdown as to what you're spending $5 million on?
Not specific, I can say Spectrum's included.
Spectrum coverage, increasing capacity?
It's mainly, most of that money is, apart from Spectrum, is capacity and coverage. And one thing I will say is that because we went early with LTE, what we're able to do is penetrate 4G devices, and with enough 4G devices on the network, every time a 3G cell got busy, rather than expand 3G capacity, we put 4G on it.
Right.
So it's sort of self-propelled its own footprint. And so a lot of that money's gone into, you could look at an installation of 4G and argue its coverage or capacity. I don't care. We drove the footprint out with some of that investment, and we'll continue to.
Does this mean that if you're running a 3G phone, then your performance is going to degrade as you upgrade the cells to 4G?
No, if anything, your 3G experience is going to improve because we're moving the traffic to the 4G lane.
Right, so the 3G time you're on the 4G.
That's right.
When you say set down Spectrum, then you mean the 1800 that's open, just open? Because the cost of the 700 has already been right?
Well, that's a 3-year view, which included the 700, which is the big spend. So it's one of the.
So just to clarify, that's available now, or is it?
It's activated in the network, but there's a few processes that have to be gone through in terms of activating the device itself, and indeed we'll be progressively activating blocks of basically SIM card level build up as we're rolling people onto the capability, so it'll expand out very, very rapidly.
Okay, so when do you expect to see the first user
There's customers already making calls today, but the ducks have to line up, they have to have the device, they have to have done the software update, they have to be in the initial pool of enabled devices, and of course they have to have somebody to ring, but if they ring fixed, they'll be getting it now. And you'll see progressively over the coming weeks and months, we'll sort of rapidly ramp that up in parallel with it.
And the other thing is, how does this, for enterprises, how does this tie in with VoLTE and including some of your enterprise voice products?
So IP telephony, for example, if the codec on the end can negotiate at an IP level, they can do HD voice. Now, what we do find is not everything does, but what's clever about it is it will negotiate down to the lowest common denominator if it has to.
Build a platform for future capabilities there as well.
So VoLTE, 700 megahertz, calls over Wi-Fi, all of this greatly reduces the cost for Telstra to transmit data because it's far more efficient, right?
That's the journey we've been on for 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why each year we can add more value in the plans that John's been talking about.
So will we see a rapid increase in the amount of data that customers can expect? Will you pass this on to customers?
If you look at our data plans in the last 12 months, you can see on many levels we've compared 2, 3, 4x already in the last year. So we'll continue to meet our customers' data needs as we go. There's many ways of doing that. We think sharing has been a great step forward for customers being able to maximise the value of their total pool of data. But we'll continue to adjust.
Will it get faster, I guess?
Well, let me just make a point on that is, do the costs come down? Yes, and we've been doing that for 10 years. But bearing in mind, we don't get the benefits until the devices penetrate the market. So this is an ongoing journey of that curve. It doesn't sort of do this, it just comes down like that. And our job is to keep in sync, to make sure the business remains profitable and we're adding more value. And the better I can do my job, the more value John can add to our customers.
And just in terms of, I'm sure you do a lot of reader surveys, not reader surveys, sorry, a lot of customer surveys and things like that to find out what your customers actually want. Anecdotally, I don't really hear many people saying, I'm picking a network because it's got HD voice, or I'm really keen on this VoLTE service.
That's right.
So, do you actually think it's a core reason for people to switch on to Telstra, or is it just a supplementary thing?
This will be a reason that people will either stay with us and continue to stay with us. This is one of many features we offer to customers. And many years ago they said I didn't want SMS. We will continue to build new features and functions. And the idea of building this is foundational. It begins with, here's some great new features and functions you get built in. But as we start to build IP-enabled future services, whether it's I want to use voice over Wi-Fi to customise my coverage in my home, or some point down the track, the ability to flick to a video call after we start a voice call and have a quality-enabled video call, all of these are part of the roadmap. We think customers will value as part of the package.
It's amazing what customers do value and get used to when they've experienced it. So I talk to customers a lot, and they talk about the network. Of course, they talk about coverage and speed. They also talk about the simple things that Mike's team does. The fact that the voice calls drop out so much less than other networks that they've experienced. The fact that setup times when they come out of a tunnel, for instance, are instant versus other experiences they've had. These things they get used to and become quite passionate about as our advocates. It's amazing how much it comes out when we talk to our customers. We think voice is going to become a new experience that they see, touch, experience and value. The next generation of voice.
Just a question on the longer term roadmap. You mentioned video calls, but Telstra rolled out video calls on mobile when it did next year many years ago, and there was a really limited uptake. What changes as far as consumers?
Well, one thing I've really seen in my time is things being ahead of their time. You can probably go back to the Apple Newton. Video calling at the time with the screen size and the data rate at the standard, we know didn't catch on, but I can tell you what I'm seeing inside Telstra right now, it gives me some feeling that this is going somewhere, is that I'd be lucky to do one audio call per week. Every one of our interactions internal, because we have next generation IP telephony phones on EDS, and we have video conferencing, and we need to work with our partners and our vendors. We use a huge amount of video calling, and that gives me the insight that there are use cases that people will do video call. Do I think they'll do all their calls video? No, but I do think we'll start to see some interesting use cases as we build these tools, largely for other people to take advantage of.
I was just say with the IMS at the core, and the question about Blue Jeans is a good one. As you and your phone start to interact with one-to-one video, one-to-many video, and that becomes natural and native, which is absolutely what's happening. This is a critical capability that we're building. So it will build, but as Mike said, within sort of 12 to 18 months within Telstra, we went from being a teleconference company to a video conference company every time, and it's transformed how we work. It transforms engagement. That's what's amazing, is that video for us has been a transformation of looking at each other and engaging. And in a world where there's a lot of distraction and multitasking, video is actually a game changer from a business perspective. perspective, and we see applications of that in the consumer world too.
Yeah, I just wanted to continue on with some of the points Dave was making and just talk about a couple of questions. In terms of consumers have sort of gotten used to the idea of 4G now, but the average consumer, we're getting a lot of terms like access at 9 at 11. There's a lot of information here about speeds. One, how are you going to sell this? When it's an incremental change of just a slightly different connection.
Yeah.
How are you going to sell it? How are you going to explain it? Secondly, how will people be able to, from day one, get an idea of whether their device is compatible? Because we touched a little bit on it earlier, but I just really want to talk about, well, people have a phone in their pocket. How do I know whether this is going to be able to use?
So a couple of things on that. We haven't kind of got the final marketing. This is giving an early look. And as we go to a more broad launch over the next few months, how we'll explain this next generation of voice will become a lot clearer, really simple for our customers. As I said, at the core of it is this idea of beautiful basics. Customers want to experience these things as natural, native, simple, every day. They don't want to have to rapidly change. They want to experience better, but comfortably in the way they do things today. And that's how we'll roll it out, seamlessly, simply. In terms of what they expect, so you saw the V popping up on the phone. We won't necessarily start by making it available. We don't want to confuse customers. They go, what's happening differently? As we roll it out, start to penetrate it and educate our customers, we'll start to give them the experience of knowing they're on VoLTE, knowing they're not on VoLTE, etc. But it will be a journey that will go on over the next few months as we begin to roll out. But we agree, it's got to be done in a way that our customers understand, embrace, and enjoy, not be disruptive.
And so I was going to say, adding to that, at its heart, you could say the same question arose when we launched 4G. But the reality is, let's get back to the basics of what we're here for, and that is you can use it in more places, you get fewer dropouts. If you want to open a web page, because increasingly people's lives are on these devices, everything from banking, that certainty that it's going to work more often in more places is at the heart of why we do this. And to some extent, what we're explaining to them is, we've got your back and we're going to continue to do this for you, and it's actually, in many regards, will get better, is the underlying message, and then there's some subtle messages that go on top about what you can now get.
Okay, so you've got an education program, but for us writing today, and I've got someone reading about VoLTE, how can they establish, just a bit more concrete detail about these groups of SIMs that are going to be kind of switched on, and device capability, all those ducks lining up.
I would just say progressively over the coming weeks and months, people will be able to take advantage of it. That's the simplest way to describe it, and with the right device.
Do we have a list? Did you make all the available today? A list of devices?
Only ones that we talked about is the latest Samsung and Sony are coming, but it won't be long. We'll be able to really make it clear, and it'll come through in our stores. It'll come through on the web as well, make it really clear for our customers as this ramps up, how they get access to it, what devices work, etc.
What about the new iPhones? Are they VoLTE compatible?
We expect
they've been announced. So.
We expect all popular handsets over time are heading in this direction. We've got nothing to say about Apple on this one at this stage, but it's a direction most vendors are very, very interested in.
Just a really prosaic question on the hotspot. Is that still the same three carriers that get connected to the mobile devices? WhatsApp, 18 and 23?
It actually does vary depending on where we are in the network and what order we built the network. Mainly it's the APT 700, 1800 and 2600, or 25, depending on which sort of hat you're wearing this day. In some cases we're doing the APT 700 and 2 by 26.
Okay.
And that's sort of an order of build convenience.
How come it's so much faster than the hotspot than the handset?
In terms of...
You've got 600 on the hotspot, 450 on the handset.
Oh, that's just the evolution of the chips that are being used by the device vendors. And if you look at our history, it's always started with the fast, next generation, because there's less integration with application processors and applications and handsets and antennas. So you tend to find the first devices that come out are the hotspots or traditional dongles, and then down the track, those technologies find their way into the standard handset, and you've seen that play out time and time again.
Who do you think's going to be a new communications minister?
Yeah, we're here for a technical discussion, I think. Something I know a little bit about. Okay, so look, I might leave you with that. I'll leave you to maybe finish off your lunch, and then we'll invite you to please come and break out our displays. Thank you for your time today. Appreciate it. Hope you got something out of it. Thanks, everybody.